Yeah, he had the concert we went to. It was he had a thing to where he kept offering. He told the audience to give him shots from the bar, and I told Corey, I'm like, hey, you know, it'd be really funny is if you gave him a shot of water to keep him hydrated, and then he actually did it.
Yeah, no, I just got him a cup of water. It's like, man, I must be really drunk if you're handing me a glass of water.
That was pretty cool.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
That was actually the first concert I've ever been to, and that was last September.
Oh, damn, I forgot about that's your first concert.
Yeah. Yeah, I was supposed to actually go to a concert before COVID happened, but then, well, COVID happened.
Yeah. What was that
I
concert
know.
for?
God, I always crack up like talking about plans that people had in early 2020.
Right.
Plans that I had. It's like I laugh and cry at this. I think I'm past the crying point, you know, so now I can just laugh about it.
Right. Yeah, no, it was a weird time, but I think it was also like around that time that like I realized that like doing stuff like this is exactly what I want to do in my life, and I want to do whatever I can do to figure out how to do this for longer, you know, as long as possible, you know.
And I think we were just talking about that last night where like that's the most frustrating thing is finding other like-minded people that actually
Right.
have the same exact dream of like we just want to get out there and actually enjoy ourselves making content,
Right.
not just be stuck in a day-to-day job.
Right. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, man, I feel like a lot of stuff you guys are saying like is kind of good, usable stuff. I think you should just I think you should be recording everything.
Oh yeah? Like how so?
No, like starting like I feel like all this should be recorded. Are you recording
we're
it?
not
I am
doing it,
recording
yeah.
now. I did just start it a couple minutes ago because we were just
Okay.
we just kind of went into it. So
That's
Yeah,
fair,
yeah,
that's fair.
You know, it's funny because I worked as an audio engineer in studios and stuff, and it's one of the early lessons you learn, like just always have the tape rolling because
Right.
especially in some of those moments that feel just kind of relaxed and laid back, like sometimes it's like the best stuff comes out. So
Right.
I'm happy that you got some of that you were saying because
Mhm.
yeah, I mean that's the whole thing, just finding like-minded people, and that's like you
Yeah,
got to
finding-
work some amount, but you know, doing something you love and if it is interfacing with the world, making some kind of content, it's like how do you balance like that push that's like always make more? And for me, the answer is just find stuff you like making, you know, and stuff that kind of gives you energy.
Right. Right. I guess a question right off the top of the bat is like I'm sure that you're a little bit older than us. I'm 22 and
I'm only 20.
yeah, he's 20.
I'm not even drinking age, but
But I like if since you've been doing this for a lot longer and you're actually I'd say you're moderately successful in what you do. Did you ever like have to deal with that to where you were the only one who was like that wanted to do that when you're younger, or were you more surrounded with like-minded people? Because like we live in
did you
like
have a community to help support you
Right.
get through the struggle of just starting off, or did you have to work through your own perseverance and your own mental game?
right, because we live in like rural Wisconsin, so like the concept of being a YouTuber or anything
It is
tech related,
very
there's no
foreign.
one around here.
Oh, that's really interesting. You know, because I'm in Dallas right now, and I've generally often lived in cities, like went to school in Boston, and yeah, I feel like I don't put a lot of thought into just imagining what it's like if I'm not around a city and kind of people who, you know, where being a YouTuber is something that is just accepted.
Right.
That's interesting. You know, it's a hard question. I feel like I was always surrounded by supportive people because, I mean, for the longest time, I just want to be a bass player. Like,
Right.
my goal in life until, I mean, I'm 38 now, until my early 30s was I just wanted to be a bass player and write songs, and I did instrumental bands. And so I feel like I always found musicians. And I
Right.
think also being a musician, I think it's easier to find that sense of community
Yeah, that's
because
true.
you know everybody's in bands and everybody's playing gigs, and it's just really easy to go support your friends, and you kind of find the bands that sound somewhat like you. And so I always felt supported.
That's true.
The part that I struggle with, and I feel like a lot of like local bands struggle with, and is that nobody really knows how to move forward. It's like there's no classes you take. So you see so you just look around and you see everybody kind of doing the same stuff. So you do the same stuff, and suddenly a bunch of years have gone by and you're kind of playing local shows and nothing has changed.
Right.
You know, and I feel like we grow up with some of these
Is it like
concepts, like you'll get a big break, and the right person just has to see you.
say, is that,
And,
I was gonna say, is that the thing? Is there like a risk that has to come with it, or is it just the right people, right luck, right circumstances that come by?
Yeah, I mean, for me, once I started Grand Commander, it was different. Like, I had a couple other bands that had put out albums, and I kept being like, okay, like we're gonna do this,
Mm,
we're gonna make it, and that's the thing in the local bands. Everyone else says like, oh, we're gonna make it, and it's like, what does that even look like?
right.
What does making it even mean? It's
yeah,
just a
right.
concept.
Just like
But
getting
with
randomly signed by one guy in a crowd or something.
oh, sure, and I feel like that delusion. And what's interesting is it still happens to some people, but it doesn't
Right.
happen often.
Mm-mm.
Because I think
But
we
with
have
Grand,
kind of a
go ahead.
sorry, so I don't mean to interrupt
Yeah,
you.
there's probably a little
No,
bit
no,
of
it's fine, it's
delay
cool.
here.
But
Yeah, it's cool. It's cool.
we do kind of have a similar thing of like, we don't even know what really making it on YouTube means. We're just like
Right.
hoping that one day we'll make some revenue and then we
Right.
can just quit our daily jobs.
Yeah.
That's the real goal.
Yeah, we're just kind of like tweaking it as we go along. It's like, all right, well, this isn't quite working. What if we do this? What'll happen?
Just hoping for the day that like, okay, yeah, we can actually
Mhm.
be done with everything else and focus on YouTube 100%.
I bet it's a bit different feeling too, because like being a musician, as you said, like there's usually musicians around, there's bands, there's a community
Yeah.
already there, and it's something that's been around for better part of a century, now.
Yeah,
Whereas
making a band
YouTuber,
is a lot more
it's
known.
like what YouTube started in 2005. People started making money in like 2012,
Yeah.
maybe. Like it's
I would say the
new.
parallel for being signed on YouTube or just making the content world is going viral.
right.
Like I
Yeah.
feel like the content creators I talk to, like where I would hear a local band be like, "Oh, we'll get signed." That I feel like content creators are always saying like, "Oh, like I just need one video to go viral and then we'll be good." And
Mhm.
Yeah.
I feel like it's the same kind of lie, just in a different guise.
Right. Yeah, I actually do a lot of like research for it a lot, and one thing I was saying or reading, it was like, oh, it's not just one viral video and you're good. If you get a viral video, that's great. You can gain some new followers from that, but you got to be able to structure that and not like crack from the pressure and actually keep it going. And it's
Right. And I feel like oftentimes when something goes viral, it's a springboard that is on top of a bed of a lot of hard work, and it looks
Mhm.
like, just like when bands blow up, they often say like, I'm new to all of you, but I've been doing this for 10 years,
Right.
or
Yeah.
15 years or something wild. And I feel like a lot of times when you go back and look at previous videos of someone who has gone viral, and obviously there are tons and tons of exceptions,
right.
but I'm never surprised if I go and look at someone's channel and they just have hundreds of videos and they've been tweaking the lighting and tweaking the content and figuring out their mics and their gear, and suddenly you realize that a lot went into that video
Right.
going crazy.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
also just the time spent like figuring yourself out, like what kind of content creator you want to be,
Getting
and
comfortable.
then just understanding what you want to make and what your audience wants to see, and kind of that glorious middle ground between like what you resonate with and what people resonate with.
Yeah, I think that's the hardest part actually, is like, because like I have my weird little niche YouTube channels that I like to watch, but I know only I like to watch them. It's only a very specific. But finding that niche and trying to spread out that niche to a bunch of people, a bunch of different people, like we like Game Grumps and Super Mega. Super Mega kind of has a niche comedy, but Game Grumps
Not
is
as much
much
these
more
days.
open.
Yeah.
But so it's kind of been a challenge for us of like, do we try to lean more into our own niche comedy, or do we actually try to just be
Broaden
open?
ourselves out more. Yeah. It's interesting. When you started Grand Commander, did you kind of feel like all right, this is kind of like my middle ground, or was it just like, did it start as just another project? You're like, all right, let's see where this goes.
It was. I didn't look at it from that perspective. At that point, basically nobody had ever really listened to any of the music I made except for people that
Friends.
happened to be in the bars that I
Mm.
play with. You always have small victories, like
Right.
with a couple bands before Grand Commander. We'd have a couple shows, 300-400 people, and it's stuff you tell stories about, but it's nothing ever went beyond a small kind of 2 or 3 city area.
Mhm.
With Grand Commander, at the point, I never tried writing songs with lyrics and singing, and I had kind of painted myself into a corner with previous bands of making like kind of progressive, technical, funk, fusion, metal kind of.
What other
you
bands
know-
have you been in besides Grand Commander?
If you're comfortable sharing.
Yeah.
Oh,
I
I
mean, try
mean,
to listen to other music.
Yeah, I mean, I've been in 1,000 bands, but the 2 bands that I was in that put out records that I wrote, with Little Brian, I think that was in 2007, and then Magnetite, which I don't know what year that album came out, maybe The Little Brian album was called Thrash Funk, and that was like a 10-piece with like 4 horns and keyboards, percussion, 2 guitars, and just very kind of compositionally, technically focused.
It does sound pretty sick.
And Magnetite was a 3-piece. But on the record, I pretty much just played all the bass and guitar, and I had a great drummer. And I wanted to do something more organic, so we recorded all the bass and guitar to tape, live in a studio. No, all the bass and drums to tape. And then at that point, I didn't know how to mix or really engineer records. So I went to grad school in Boston and took the next 3-4 years and just taught myself how to mix. So that album was just me kind of learning how to do it myself.
Wow.
And that was more just kind of jammy, still a little progressive here and there. Really just kind of funk, metal, rock type stuff.
Just trying shit out.
I don't know, Mr. Bungle, Buckethead, Old Chili Peppers, Primus kind of stuff.
That's sick.
Yes, King Crimson. Those are all my influences. And what changed is I just got sick of playing that kind of music. Like, it stopped being fun.
Right.
And there was always a community of like-minded musicians, but it started to feel like I was just making musician music.
Yeah.
Right.
And there are tons of bands I listened to growing up, like I always loved like Tom Waits, and like my mom was really into folk, and I liked all the folk music, and like AC/DC, like simple rocks, stuff that was fun. I mean, Motown, there's all sorts of different, singer-songwriters, like acoustic music. And I just felt like I had all these parts of my musical personality that didn't come out because I had just focused on this like technical bass-heavy side. And I just wanted to, and then when you find those musicians, the stuff that isn't that is often shunned. Like, oh, it's too simple, or that's too boring, and we're innovating. We don't do that here. And so I felt like I almost was kind of giving my power away in a sense, where I was playing with musicians who are fantastic, but I realized that I just wasn't having fun. So with Grand Commander, all I wanted to do was write songs that whatever was in my head, I wanted to write. If it was funk, if it was folk, if it was weird, if it was boring, if it was normal, it didn't matter. Like, I switched from wanting to make something intense and progressive and professional to I just wanted to make something that was cool. Whatever my voice was, I wanted that to come out and just put it out and see if people liked it.
Wesley, that's something I've really noticed in your Grand Commander music, is that there's so much emotion that goes into it for some songs, and then you can tell that some of the songs are just fun and funky.
Right. Yeah.
It's
crazy. Like, cause like I think in my email to you, I remember saying that I like probably a little bit before quarantine happened, I found I Hope You Die in a Fire, and I was like, whoa, what is this? This is awesome. And then I went and listened to your other music. I'm like, whoa, that's different. Whoa. Oh, that's even more different. But then like I started to like it. I'm like, oh, okay, I want this vibe Grand Commander today, or I want this vibe,
I was like, for me, the first song that I found was Journey to Wherever We May Go.
Oh, that's a great song.
From then on, I was just like that was the only song that I had heard for so many years. And then I finally found you again, and then I found Fuck You, I'm Going Underground, and I was like, oh my God, this is a completely different vibe. And it just fits so fucking well.
But it's good in its like own like
in its own right.
Yeah, in its own merit, which is it's interesting.
Yeah, sorry to just keep on sucking your dick by your music, but
no, I love hearing your experience about it, because I've met various people. They're like, I want to work with you or produce you or be your manager, and they always say stuff like I met a person after Journey to Wherever We May Go came out, and that song did well pretty much right from the beginning, and people were saying, so just make songs like this, don't make any of the other songs. And I just never connected with that. So I feel like I came up when it was okay for bands to put out different sounds, and I've always felt like I've met people in the quote unquote industry that are like, well, define your sound and just do that. And that's just never been me. Like, if I hear a sound, I want to put it out, and I find it really encouraging. And validating even more than encouraging that you guys relate to different sounds, because I just feel like people aren't as simple as we're led to believe.
Well, yeah, it's like saying that somebody's gonna have the same emotion throughout their entire life. You know, like so many
Right.
emotions require different things. It's like the same thing. Art represents different
Mhm.
colors with emotions. Blue is usually represented as sad, and red is usually represented as anger, and green is usually represented as happy. But that doesn't necessarily mean you can't like mix them together and throw it
Right.
around and make it a different art.
Well, I've always hated like the idea of like limiting yourself to like, all right, hey, you did this one like good thing, stick with it. I mean, yeah, there should be some middle ground. Like if you do one thing that's successful, you don't want to completely, betray your following and do something completely different. But if
Right.
you already kind of established that, hey, I like to do a little bit of this, I like to do a little bit of this, it's I hate people that try to limit themselves because eventually you're gonna start to hate what you do, and I
You're
don't
gonna hit a
think,
crossroads.
yeah, and I don't think anyone wants that,
True. And also, I think the songs, when people really connect to them, it's like it comes from a place of exploration, at least for me. So if I suddenly leave that place of exploration and then I try to just replicate it, that inspiration that one of the song people liked is going to be absent from a newer one because I'm just trying to like replicate something. So it's an interesting balance. And what was new to me was having any type of audience. So the whole
Right.
discussion of kind of thinking about making something that my listeners will like and something that I will like, that's a brand new concept for me because I mean for most of my life I just made music that only I liked,
Right.
and it was like what a not a problem but what a I'm really grateful to have the experience to even think about putting out music that audience listens to because it's just been it was so long, and then suddenly with Grand Commander, like I put out a song now and I have people that want to hear it, and it's just and I want to give people songs they like. But at the same time, if I turn off that part of me that comes out with a weird song, then it starts to tend towards work.
Yeah.
And
Right.
that magical feeling that started Grand Commander goes away. So I just don't
It's a weird
turn off
balance.
the weird songs.
That's
and if the
good.
song is too weird, I'll put it on SoundCloud.
I didn't know that.
I have to check out your SoundCloud.
Yeah, wow. What would you classify as like a song too weird?
I don't know. Well,
'Cause
like
I mean,
I wrote a song called Laser Eyes that I put on SoundCloud that it was just a dumb song. Like I made the whole thing in a couple days and it was
Sure.
really dumb, but I just had fun making it. And I thought maybe a couple of people will like this. And I sent it to one of my friends who's into video games and he really liked it. But it didn't feel like something I wanted to put on Spotify and promote. So I was
Yeah,
like,
that's fair.
throw this on SoundCloud. Or like the song Malfunction, the like official Malfunction instrumental is on Spotify, but I found the version that I wrote like, I don't know, 20 years ago maybe
Oh wow.
Wow.
on a Windows 95 computer with
Holy
Windows
shit.
95 MIDI, and the computer still turned on.
God,
So
you made
like
that
I
when
put
I was conceived.
Wow.
so
Damn.
yeah, so it's like the Windows 95 version of Malfunction is on SoundCloud.
Wow, that's kind
Damn.
of awesome.
That's amazing.
Well, I guess that's another question I was gonna have. Are a lot of your songs, are they like more so like redoings of like old demos and songs you had in the past for past albums, or is
No.
it more just, hey, I'm feeling this emotion right now, I'm just gonna get it out organically, and that's what came out?
Yeah, that's pretty much what the deal is.
Okay.
Some of the smaller instrumental songs were songs like All In and sorry about to sneeze.
No worries.
Yeah.
I think Discord
I
cuts
think
that
it-
stuff
it-
out anyways.
Yeah, I think it went back in, but it was the weirdest feeling for a second.
Don't you hate
I
love
know.
sneezing.
Just sits in the end of your nose, and it's
Oh.
like, make up your mind, sneeze.
that?
Are you one of
I'm
those
not
people
trying
that
to visit.
Are you one of those people that hate sneezes or love sneezes?
I don't feel like I attach really any emotions to sneezing. It's just
Oh,
a
man.
thing that happens.
I can say for both of us, we love sneezing.
I love sneezing. It feels so good. But I know people that get physically angry at sneezing. So
There,
I have zero negative emotions, so I guess I'm on the positive side. Like
That's
if a
good.
sneeze wants to come through my experience, it is welcome.
yeah.
no, I'm sorry
It's
to change
relieving.
the topic to something a little bit more funny, but do you remember the bracelet that you used to have? That there was a bracelet that Adam used to have that he could
Oh my God,
take a
no.
spike of it and put it up his nose, and then it would make him sneeze instantly.
I used to I found out a way that if you tickle a certain part of your nose when I was like 15, I used to be like edgy and I wear like this spike bracelet with like this fake leather strap or whatever. And I used to figure out that I don't know what like influence me to do it. But if you stick it up your nose at the right angle, it can make you can make yourself sneeze.
But like then you would just make yourself sneeze like 20 times.
Yeah,
a
until I
day.
cry. I'm like, I think I'm gonna have an aneurysm. I need to stop.
I definitely don't love sneezes that
Yeah,
much.
no, I don't do that anymore, mind you.
I think that's fantastic though, because I really just never imagined like loving a sneeze.
It's
You know,
like it's a face orgasm.
Yeah, it's such a good release. But wow.
Yeah,
Okay,
back to a more serious
derailed a little bit. That's
What were we talking about?
Shit.
well, that's
Before
in the truck with
sneezing.
AC. Welcome back to episode 20. By the way, everybody,
Yeah.
we have a very special guest, Grand Commander.
Woo!
And we're kind of 20 minutes into it. If you haven't read the title, and figured it out
I did the
by now.
same thing when I recorded the first episode of my podcast. It was like a half an hour in. I was like, oh yeah, I should tell people your name. And then he told me, he's like, hey, listen to other podcasts. He's like, just record an intro later. And I was like, that's what I can do.
Oh,
Oh, you know
usually
what?
we're good about it, but I think we were just both nervous and we just started getting into conversation. Didn't really want to interrupt it. So
Yeah, now I kind of want to ask, how are your nerves?
I'm stuttering more than usual, but it's good. It's
I think I'm doing pretty good now.
feelings. Yeah, it's very fun
you
talking
guys,
to you, man.
you guys both sound good to me. I'm having fun.
I
Me
know.
too. Thanks. Wow.
Oh, okay, wait a minute. So I was talking about instrumentals.
Yep.
Yeah.
I remember. Oh no, so you asked me,
If your songs
are
were like
these
organic.
old demos?
Yeah.
I wrote the first batch of maybe like 9-10 singles all at once, and I had never recorded vocals before, so I probably worked on recording those songs for a couple years
Okay.
and then started putting them out.
Wow.
And then after that, I think the first song that I just wrote and put out was Journey to Wherever We May Go. And I think all the songs that came out before then, I'm opening up Spotify real quick to just look.
Wait, Journey to Wherever You May Go is your first song? No way. I don't.
No. That was the first one that I just wrote spontaneously, recorded and released without
okay.
tons of time.
Okay. Everything else was
yeah,
more like
because like I
prepared.
Hope You Die in a Fire, like Skelly, all those songs. And there was a handful of songs before I Hope You Die in a Fire that nobody really ever listened to, and all those were kind of written in one chunk. Like I think I wrote all of them in a couple months.
I love
and-
Animal Attack.
Same.
Oh yeah, that was part of the same group.
Oh sure.
Oh, Let's Become
I think
Animals
the very
is one of the newer ones. that
First
like
one
that
I wrote was the very first one I wrote was Reach the Moon, and that was the first time I ever really tried singing.
Mhm.
And I made a demo of the first half. I sent it to my friend. I was like, "Is this terrible?" And he's like, "No, this is really cool." He's like, "You should move forward and keep trying this." So the reason it took so long is I was just, I had a roommate and I was really nervous about singing, so I would always wait for my roommate to be gone, and
I feel that.
that's why some of the songs like are performed quietly, because it's not that I was embarrassed. It's just that I didn't want comments. I wanted it to be a
Oh,
solitary experience.
Dude, I completely feel you. I'm nowhere near your level, but I'm kind of a amateur musician. I'm like a great value campfire guitarist. Like I can play some chords and have some of my own songs a little bit, but I'm very uncomfortable playing like in front of people
Still
or
so
like
mad at my
sharing
cousin.
people. What?
For like when you decided to play guitar down in the basement, we were
Oh.
just all chilling, and she was just very drunk. And in the middle of you playing, she just goes, "Man, I gotta be honest, you fucking suck."
Yeah.
And it was just like, what the fuck? You can't just say that. He's putting his heart on the line here, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, see, that's the things normies say, not to call your friend a normie.
Oh no,
No,
she's totally a normie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
But and it's really hard, especially people think they're helping. And I've
Right.
learned, being a musician, hearing demo, there's an art to hearing somebody's demo
Mhm.
and hearing what somebody wants to do and learning what to say.
Right.
And it's even, and still sometimes I can say the wrong thing. So I
Right.
just had to learn,
Mhm.
like when you first record something, you always want to share and show somebody. And then, God, if somebody says the wrong thing, it just colors your experience
Right.
of that song. And it's the same thing with performing.
Mhm.
So I just had to learn, like, I want to keep it to myself because I had such a history of saying, oh, like I need all these people and I got to mix it. It's got to be professional. It's got to be all this stuff. And then the thing that comes out is lacking in some way. So with Grand Commander, I was like, I want to basically record this in secret.
Yeah.
and then just put it out and see what happens. And that being said, it's like I got a couple friends that I showed my demos to, and I showed my demos like my family and that kind of stuff, and just got a general feel for the pulse, if people were feeling it or not. But other than that, it's like I know a lot of people, especially the younger generation, they always put works in progress on Instagram and TikTok, and
Yep.
I do a little bit of that, but it's hard for me because I feel like a song, it's like an embryo,
Right.
and I want it to kind of grow up on its own and not
Not be
have too much
tainted.
input.
You have to let
Yeah.
it morphosize itself.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I feel I actually feel I was telling you this not too long ago that I like there are some things that I really feel like if you have like a project or I guess a song in this case that's like at the very early stages of development, it's something I read somewhere and it just stuck with me. It's bad. You don't want to go tell, a bunch of people. It's like, hey, I'm thinking of doing this thing and getting feedback before you have something to show, like before you've even really made progress on it, because in a way there's some sort of psychological thing to where it can just demotivate you.
It stops you in your path before you even started.
Mhm. So yeah, I totally agree with wanting to do it in like secret at first, just to see where it goes. Because if it doesn't go anywhere, then all right, well then you're not like embarrassed to everyone else. You're just like, all right, well I'll just try something else.
Yeah, it's just a hard thing, and then putting out a song and having people like it, that was the weirdest feeling because that was I'd given up on thinking that would ever really happen. But like when you put out a song and people don't like it, or you run some ads, you get a bunch of hate comments.
Mm-hmm.
Or before I started running ads, I would submit to blogs,
Oh wow.
and there's this site called Submit Hub that it costs like a $1 to $3 per. You can either submit for free and they never listen, or you can pay $1 to $3 to get a review. Not to review, for them to decide whether or not your song will make their blog.
Oh wow. Okay.
And they have to give, if you select a certain option, they have to give written feedback, and it's a very sobering experience to say spend $100 and submit to 40 or 50 blogs and just have 90% just rip your song to shreds. And
Yeah, that's gotta hurt. That's gotta like emotionally
Yeah,
be so
I think-
wearing.
yeah, that's
Well, it hurts at first. It's a Submit Hub, and submitting to blogs and getting a massive amount of rejections in a small period of time it's a very novel experience, because first it sucks,
mhm.
and then it stops hurting.
It probably humbles
It's almost.
you.
Did you ever see like the movie? God, what is it? Like Mighty Ducks?
I'm
That
pretty.
sounds so.
That's a classic. I'm
familiar.
pretty sure, but unfortunately, I'm an uncultured swine and
One
I've not
second,
seen that.
So,
I gotta
anyway,
look it up.
It was Emilio Estevez, and it's a hockey movie.
Sure.
Oh
and-
yeah, I do
like-
know it. Hockey movie.
Yeah.
Yep.
So this kid, the goalie, he's afraid of getting hit by pucks,
Mm-hmm.
and eventually they tie him up to the goal, and they all just start launching pucks at him, and he's just screaming. And then all of a sudden he's like, this doesn't hurt. And that's what it feels like. Like you submit and you get all these rejections, and it's the most terrible thing. And then you just
You finally
realize
just accept the pain.
this doesn't hurt it. Well, it's not even that you accept it. It's just it disappears.
Yeah.
Because here's the crazy part is that people will hate the production. They say, I don't like the production. I don't like the lyrics. I don't like the bass playing. I don't like the beat. I don't like the song development. It doesn't. The big one for me is people always say like there's not. It's not dynamic enough. Like that was a big one on Journey. Like people said, it's very.
Oh, I think
it's very
perfect
flat.
the
It
way
doesn't
it is.
bring me up. Well, and here's the other part that's interesting. All those same people they'll say, I like the guitar, I like the vocals, I like the lyrics, but I don't like this. So when I kind of spread it out, you find people that like between a group of people, everybody will like and hate almost everything about you,
Hmm.
and it just feels like a certain point it's just a numbers game. So you
Right.
realize you can't please all these people. Like I think how much of a weirdo I am in my strange, bizarre taste of something that'll turn me off from a song or a movie that is just totally weird.
Right.
And then everybody else in the world is like that too.
In their own
So I
different
think-
ways.
Yeah. And that's so I think you got to get to the point where you just put stuff out and just be comfortable enough in yourself to just release it to the world and let them take it how they will. And maybe it resonates and maybe it doesn't.
I think that's kind of like at the point to we're kind of getting to of, I know we used to be really like critical of ourselves of, like, oh, people don't like this or, they're not going to like this. But at the same time,
I think we should just enjoy
well,
ourselves.
what I feel like we kind of think these days is, yeah, we're still critical of ourselves, but at the same time as well, all right, some people might not like us, but
I don't think it's that we're so critical about, like, we're so critical about how we're actually having the setup and our actual quality of the content,
yeah, it's
not
production.
necessarily the jokes itself.
Sure. Well, I just mean like some people are just not gonna like us,
Oh yeah,
but you just keep doing what we're doing, and someone
Yeah.
might. I mean,
someone might pick
we
us
have
up.
like 3 active followers. So I mean,
Those 3 people motivate the hell out of us.
yeah,
though.
no, it's
That's what we need.
it's interesting. It's definitely it's weird. It's definitely weird. And with like the whole musician thing, I have 3 roommates myself, so I almost never like try to record anything because they're almost never gone at the same time, or it's if it's like nighttime, like I don't want to be too loud because I got like roommates to the side of me and below me, and it's just like I don't know. It's even though that I know they're supportive, it's just like it's just something you can't get out of your head. I just want like the complete solitude just to experiment
Right.
and do your own
And that's
thing.
the whole thing is that's what I realized I wanted. It's like I know you support me, but I don't want the comments.
Right. Yeah.
And it's hard to explain that to people because everyone thinks they can help. And you know, you could show someone a demo like, oh, you know, it's pretty good. You know, if you just sing in tune, it'd be great. And you're like, oh my God, you know,
It's
you
like,
get
oh,
all in your
shit.
head, and
Yeah.
it just doesn't help. I think a lot of people, when you show them demos or show them beginning ideas, or really just show them things in the early stages of whatever it is you're doing, I think people don't have the vocabulary, especially when a lot of people don't create, because you realize tons of people talk about doing stuff. I think more people talk. There are huge people, like huge percentage of people. Sorry, I'm interrupting myself.
No,
that
no worries.
Don't create and don't want to. And there's a big chunk of people that they want to make their show and they want to do it and they kind of never will. And then there's the people that make stuff. And those 3 camps, I feel like the people who want to create understand how to talk, and the people who do create definitely understand because they go through it. But that big section of people that aren't creators,
Which is the majority
they
of
just
people.
don't know how. They don't understand the emotional weight that your creation has, because you know, in the beginning periods, if you don't have a lot of followers or listeners, it doesn't make what you are making any less special or any important. It just means that you're in a stage where you don't have followers, and it's nothing more or less complicated. But you know, the importance to me, like, I mean, like I Hope You Die in a Fire, that's my most popular song. When it came out, it's like I had, you know, I was getting maybe like 10, 15 streams a day, like really, really low. But that song meant everything to me.
Right.
So I think it's important that you guys take yourselves seriously, you know, and you're into the production, and it's all great. You just have to kind of keep going and find something that, you know, like stimulates your brain and stuff that you guys think is funny and fun. And I really think consistency is the key. And you'll look back and be like, I'm happy we didn't stop. Because I have a lot of friends I look back on, and God, so many musician friends just stopped. And it's so hard to talk to some of them. And, you know, some of them move on and they have families and they're really happy. And but other ones don't. Other ones like, oh, like I wish I'd kept doing this, or they're kind of reliving their glory days or whatever. So I don't know. The consistency part is huge, and it seems like you guys had the right attitude. So it makes me happy to, you know, like hear what you're saying.
I appreciate that, man. We beat ourselves up on it a lot because, like, man, we're so consistent, but like nothing's really changing, you know. But I definitely think that that's something that like I read about a lot, about like smaller YouTubers that try to make it, and a lot of, you know, people fall out because they don't make it, because a lot of times it takes 2-3 years, you know, sometimes longer for you to, you know, in YouTube specifically, to get something that actually will gain traction and get you followers and, you know, allow you to start like making revenue on it or something. A lot of people just can't sacrifice that much because it is a huge sacrifice. It's a mental sacrifice. It's a, you know, physical sacrifice, because how many people are going to work a full-time job, then come home and edit videos, you know, or edit dumb shit.
Yeah, and videos specifically are just so much harder.
Right.
At least in my experience. And maybe that's because I'm a musician, so like I've normalized how hard editing audio is, but video is just a different thing, because you got to do all the audio plus the video and the lighting, and then it takes up more memory, and you got to do titles, and yeah, it's a lot. I have a lot of respect for YouTubers and people who pump out content, because making videos is just hard.
Yeah.
So out of just a curious question now, have you checked out our stuff? Have you checked out our channel?
Yeah, I listened to. I can't remember which one I listened to, but I listened to a couple right when you guys first emailed me.
Sure.
Well, because I can't remember which ones I listened to.
That's okay.
But
Was it podcast or was it like the channel?
I think it was. I don't know which one it was.
Sure.
You guys were talking to each other, and it was.
I'm
I
guessing it's
I
not a
enjoyed listening because
podcast.
like when people email, I'm always afraid like, oh man, is this person going to be like racist or
Right.
like some kind of weirdo?
Mhm.
And I don't want to get on somebody's channel and then suddenly a podcast is out and it's like, oh, why'd you talk to this racist guy? You know.
Honestly, I thought the similar. No, not thinking that I was. Not that I thought you were racist or anything, but I'm just like, oh man, why would he want to talk to us? You know, that's kind of the thought that
What
was
if we
going
think
through
we're
my
just a
head.
bunch of they're just cringy as
Yeah, just
hell, trying to get out there,
Mhm.
just trying to leech off of somebody else's
Right.
success. We never want it to feel like that. We
No.
just want to actually have a good conversation.
Yeah, like
and just
it's
sit
it's a
down.
weird line of like, yes, we're still very novice at this whole thing. We're not really huge, but also like we want to try to learn. We're actively trying to get better, and like one of those things that people recommend is to try to reach out to other people that might have like similar like interests in like communities and try to just like collaborate and like
Oh, I think it comes with us just
spread
being-
yourself farther, you know?
I think it comes with us just being so critical about ourselves in
Yeah.
the first place. Is that we're
Mhm.
just always so worried that like we're gonna go to this next person and they're just gonna be like, you guys are just trying to, you're just trying to jump on the train. What the hell?
Right.
And we know that that's not the case, but we feel like that might happen.
Mhm. Oh, and that's
fear.
and that's why like
I've felt that before. Like there was some podcast where they were like, we want you to write a song and do all this stuff, and then I start looking into it and I think about, well, if I wrote this song and collaborated, then if you released it, like my name would be on your thing, and
Mhm.
and there have been situations where I've been in where it feels like people say you have a certain amount of listeners and we want to do this thing with you, and then I realize like it doesn't help me, it just helps you.
Mhm.
I just didn't get that sense from you guys at all.
Right.
Oh,
That's nice because honestly, I was worried about that in a bit. I mean, obviously, yeah, there is some aspect of like obviously you're bigger than us, so if people did want to go listen to it, it would help us out. But honestly, we just genuinely wanted to talk to you, and like I said, we messaged a couple other people, and you're the only one that was like willing to even respond to us. So I would just want you to know that it's like very special for us, and it's honestly an honor to
Yeah.
even be doing this
I mean,
right now.
No, it's it's an honor for me too. And it's not like I'm crazy popular or something.
Right.
So I was like, it's not like people are knocking my door down to get on podcasts.
Well,
you
they
know?
should be.
yeah, no, more people should be asking you. You seem like
Yeah.
a very awesome guy.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. Oh, and the other thing is, you guys mentioned my songs. You said something on Ornithopter, and I was like, oh, like they actually listen. Like this isn't because you get a bunch of emails from people that are, I don't know if they're bots or what it is, but like you feel like you're being collected.
Yeah.
And you name checked a couple songs, and I thought, oh, like they actually listen to the music. Like this is, I'm always willing to talk to anybody that is into my music, and
Sure.
I try to comment like social media, like anybody that comments, or to comment back, and like in the Discord. Like I like the idea of kind of having a community of people that resonate with the songs I make, because the songs for me come from a real place. So anybody I
Sure.
talk to
It might be coming
that's
from a
into
real
those
place for
songs,
them.
it's like I'll probably get along with them.
Right. Hey, and I actually wanted to, if you're bringing that up, I want to ask you about Ornithopter, particularly because I don't know if you could add more like context or something for it, but I was reading, I think, your Instagram bio for when you released Ornithopter, and it was talking about how like your dreams can change and like how you were chasing a dream that you thought you had but you didn't have, and honestly, that just like really resonated with me like pretty damn hard, because I was like, shit, like I feel that exactly with this whole thing. I mean, it's kind of a dumb concept to want to be a YouTuber, these days, if you're not, either you make it or you break it. But it's just like I've always, ever since I was younger, have been like interested in like video creation and like putting my personality on things
Just
and putting
content
myself out
creation in
there.
general.
Right. And I never really felt like I was good enough to do certain things. Like I'm a kind of musician and I'm a kind of video creator and I'm a kind of this, and I just wanted to do something that I'm proud of. So like hearing that song, but also reading that just like really like helped the way I was thinking when it was released. And I'm just curious if there's any more like
Any more backstory? that
yeah,
went
any
into
more
that song?
backstory to it.
Well, it isn't about a specific event. It's more a general
Like
kind of
feeling.
looking at my life and
Hmm.
looking at the lives of people close to me and seeing where they end up and how things change and realizing that sometimes the thing you were going for, even if you didn't achieve it, you don't want to do it anymore.
Right.
And I think it's really hard to let some of that stuff go. And
Mhm.
so for me, like making the kind of crazy instrumental music I was making, like that didn't we didn't break out and tour and get fans. But I also realized like it's not fun anymore. And then I see people that just do the same thing over and over because I mean, if you just kind of think of the general tropes and things we're told our whole lives, at least from my perspective, it's like don't give up on your dreams, keep going. But
Mhm.
nobody ever says, "Hey, like if your dream changes, it's okay."
Yeah.
Like, is
And
this
and I
still
feel
making
like
you happy?
yeah,
Is it still actively making you want to do it?
And
you
if
know,
not,
because it's more of a generic, or in the same way, it's like people are always like, "Don't be a leader, be a follower." It's
yeah.
like I don't know. If I find somebody who knows more than me, I'm happy to follow.
Mhm.
You know,
Right.
it's like these weird generic things we're told that you have to dissect, and people are like, "Don't let your dreams die," but they should say, you know, "Let your dreams change."
Yeah,
That's
no.
You know,
that's a good saying. That should be a saying
This
said in school. Let your dreams change.
Yeah, I mean, they should just play Ornithopter in every school.
Play that during the
Yeah,
announcements.
yeah, that's the new Pledge of Allegiance.
Yes.
Hey, dreams change and it's okay.
yeah, and you know, and I feel like sometimes you'll get a perspective, or somebody will say something, and it's just like, huh. It just you think about it and like, wow. Like I remember when I had first written "I Hope You Die in a Fire,"
Mhm.
I was I was so nervous to even talk about it as if I could be someone who writes songs and sings.
Right.
So I remember telling my friend about it on a gig because I'm a sound man for a wedding band. So
Sure.
me and my friend, we've worked together like every Saturday for like years.
Mhm.
And I remember telling him like, yeah, I wrote this kind of like Americana acoustic song, and you know, it's got some humor in it, but it's also serious. And I couldn't even tell him the name. Like I hadn't even come to the point where I could claim the name of the song and that I wrote lyrics. And
Well,
he was talking about this book he read. Um, what was it called? It was by James P. Cars. Um, oh, Finite and Infinite Games was what
Okay.
and
the book
Infinite
was, and he was
Games.
just explaining it to me. And you know, he's a musician too. Um, and basically, he was saying how the whole point, and this is his synopsis of the book. This isn't really the book. The book's kind of its
Right.
own thing, but
Mhm.
the whole point, either you play a finite or infinite game, and if you're playing an infinite game, the goal is to find a way to keep playing.
Right.
So if you run into barriers within the game that you're playing, then just like adjust the barriers.
Hmm.
Hmm.
And I never really thought of it that way. And that's kind of like a dreams change kind of thing. Like my dream was concrete, and I was having these experiences, these songs that we're writing that were totally outside of my perspective. But
Mhm.
I almost needed someone to give me permission to say like, hey, like let something else in. Like,
You can take
and
that
I think
barrier
the
and turn it
quote,
into clay.
yeah, so I think the quote from the book was, um, oh, it's finite players play within boundaries, infinite players play with boundaries.
Huh.
Huh.
And I was like, huh.
Damn,
So
that's
what if, yeah, so what if I just make music? What if I just try making this music I want to make, and I can keep going instead of feeling like I'm a failure because the music I was making that I'm not even liking anymore. Now, when I say it, it sounds so simple. Like, of course,
right.
if the music you want to make changes, go make that music and be happy. But
Sometimes
so
it's hard to let
often,
go of what you're so used to, because you're like, shit,
right?
like this is all I know. Who knows what this other thing is gonna entail, you know?
Well, comfort itself is a drug within it. Like a drug within
Mhm.
itself. You want to lean back towards comfort, but comfort isn't necessarily the thing that makes you happy.
That's
Oh yeah, and you know, and it's like I never thought I could sing and write lyrics. I always thought I was like the mathematical one, and that my sister was the writer. You know, I
Mhm.
never thought I could write lyrics. And then there have been times in bands where I'd get on the mic, and people always say, "Oh, don't sing! Like you stay off the mic." So
Ugh.
it just in my frame of reference, like talking about your cousin or friend who's like, "Oh, you suck!" Like that's what I got when I was on a mic.
Yeah.
People always told me I sucked.
Yeah. Do
Fuck that bitch.
I'm actually curious. for your songs, is there like any type of like, because obviously your speaking voice sounds quite different, I feel like, from at least the Grand Commander like singing voice. Is there any like effect you put in, or is that just your raw singing voice?
I multi-track a lot, so
Okay.
oftentimes you'll hear like I hope you die in a fire. I think it's like 8 tracks.
Okay.
Wow.
But
But often 2 or 3. I think Journey is 2.
just for the vocals?
Yeah, I think Calm Down was just one vocal.
Okay.
But most of them, I just love the sound of multi-tracking,
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
I
and
just
it sounds
I think
chorusy and big.
I think your singing voice sounds just like majestic, like it's because it's just such like a deep voice, but it's like it's calm. It's like smooth. It's like sure you might be talking about some harsher things like "fuck you, I'm going on underground" or "I hope you die in a fire," but like you're saying it in such like a reassuring way. It's like oh hey, like he's not putting me down. He's like
He's just
expressing
explaining
himself to
himself.
me, and it's just I don't know. I've always thought that was pretty cool, and I was curious if that was just straight up you or if that was any effect added. And it's I figured it was probably just you, and that's really cool. That's really cool.
Well, I mean, I think thank you. First of all, I think a lot of that is just like circumstance. Like,
Sure.
um, I record in my room and I don't record in the studio,
Hmm.
so I don't like the way like, condenser mics sound because they pick up too much of the room, and I got a computer, and I had a treated room for a while, but whatever. I'm not in an ideal situation, so for
Right.
me, I like using dynamic mics. Like I record with an SM7B,
Oh, the
and
Joe Rogan mics.
oh yeah,
Those are so
exactly.
nice. We're using the Rode Pod mics because those are the next best thing for bang for your buck.
Yeah,
You have the
yeah,
same
totally.
arms, the same arms as Joe
Um,
Rogan, right?
but it's like certain
No.
things happen when like when you use dynamic mics, they have proximity effect. So when you get close to the mic, it picks up like the close like if I'm this close, like you hear more bass. And if I back
Right.
up, the bass goes down.
Right. I believe
And
these mics are also dynamic.
right. So when I first started recording, I was so nervous that my roommate would hear me and make comments, and that I would basically whisper into mics and be really close.
Oh, and get really
So
bassy.
yeah, so I kind
Okay.
of just stumbled upon that sound as a like a victim of circumstance
Oh
in a
wow.
way.
That's interesting. That's really fascinating. And you just kind of
Yeah.
ran with it, huh?
You just worked with what you got and made it work. That's awesome.
Yeah, that's
Well, that was the whole Grand Commander thing. Is if it was a previous band, then I would have said, okay, I have all these demos. Now it's time to go to the studio and do it for real.
right.
And I wanted to take that feeling out. Like, why can't?
Why
Because I
can't you
remember
just
my
make it
friends had told
known?
me before, like, your demos sound good. Why don't you release those? And I would say, oh, I can't. It's not professional.
Right.
So Grand Commander, I thought, fuck it. I'm just gonna put this out. And if it sounds bedroom, well, I am in a bedroom. So what's wrong with
Fuck it.
representing my
Yeah.
reality?
So would you say that like maybe the earlier ones are just like any Grand Commander song is more of like a demo of like a song, or is it? I guess maybe your more recent ones you've probably been doing it a while. You can probably kind of know how to polish it more just the first go, or is it more of just like all right, I spent a couple days making this. I'm happy with the way it sounds. I don't need to go have it professionally, mastered or something. And just here it is. This is me.
Well, up until Calm Down, all my songs were professionally mastered, and that was the one thing I
Really.
kept saying. I can't do this myself.
Mm,
And I know a lot of people listening like might not know um like mixing and mastering are different things. And mastering is just when the song is mixed and then you send it off for the final
sure. Yeah.
volume changes to bring it
Mm.
up to whatever the
Yeah, I'm
professional
still
level
learning
is.
myself.
Um, and that was something that I always used that as like a gatekeeper, somebody who like whatever I couldn't do myself, the mastering engineer would take care of it, make it better.
Right.
And when Calm Down, and it just got expensive. When Calm Down came out, like the guy I was using, he wasn't available, so they used somebody else. I didn't like it, and I almost felt like his master job was like it was arrogant. Like I could hear him not caring about my song.
Ooh.
Damn.
And then if I wanted revisions, it was $100 a revision, and I
Ugh.
said, man, I just don't want to do this anymore. So I just decided at that point I'm just going to master myself and use the same philosophy that
Well,
you
I
know.
also feel like so much more. so much more of you goes into it if you're mastering it yourself. Now instead of having some random dude that you don't really know just be like, "Hey, can you do this for me to make it sound better?" It doesn't
Yeah.
necessarily
Sure, give me your
feel
money.
so
I'll give you
personal.
a final product or
Right.
something. Yeah.
It doesn't feel as personal to the actual product that you're making because like we said before, your songs you can feel the emotion in them.
Mhm.
And I think the fact that you master them yourself, that's what also adds it itself as well.
Yeah, I think it's important to make that bridge, and that's what became. First, I just wanted stuff to be cool, and I just wanted it to be me. And now I've realized what that means over time is I just want the song to act as a bridge to where the feelings that I want to convey can make it across to whoever's listening. And if they can do that, then I'm happy with whatever level of production.
Mhm. And
Now,
I
if the production's terrible, I have my own personal limits that I've struggled with.
Right.
But for the most part, if the feeling gets across, I'm happy.
And I definitely think it does, because like with the first time I heard "Journey to Wherever We May Go," I think I was reading somewhere that it's actually about like quarantine. I don't know how true that is, or if that was just an interpretation, but that's not how I first interpreted it when I first listened to it. I saw it as more of like a, hey, if you feel lost in whatever you're doing, if you feel like you're drowning, like don't lose hope, just like keep looking out for a rowboat. And honestly, every time I listened to that song for a while, probably still a little bit now, like I tear up halfway
I'm literally
through.
thinking about
Like
the
yeah,
lyrics and
it
tearing up a
honestly,
little bit.
that song just destroys me in like the best way possible. And it's just it's such a strange feeling, because like I rarely have songs that do that. Like I have songs that I hold near dear to my heart that like give me an emotional feeling, but that's one of the few that actually just like, I'm not a guy who cries like very easily, and that honestly just pumps tears out of me. I don't get it. It's interesting. I'm not trying to like shine your shoes at all, but like it's I'm just being honest. That's part of the reason why I
Oh,
wanted to talk so much.
yeah. No, I mean, I really appreciate it. And that one was interesting because I was in quarantine, and
Mhm.
part of the thing I always dealt with for years, I said, well, if I'm not going to go to studios, I got to have really good gear.
Right.
So I'd spend tons of money and
Feel
just run
that.
my credit cards up and you guys know how expensive recording gear
Yeah.
is.
Yeah, we spent like $1,500 in total or some shit like that, trying to
Oh,
just
yeah.
collect
I mean,
everything.
there's no limit to the amount of money you can spend.
Right.
It
So
was like, and a lot of the
when
stuff too,
quarantine
'cause-
hit,
Yeah.
I left my studio, which was my bedroom, and went to my sister's because I had to kind of dust up with my roommate. And at the
Oh.
time, I had realized how real quarantine was, or the pandemic was, but other people hadn't. So it was
Mhm.
I just I grabbed my bass and my laptop and, I had a mobile interface, but I didn't take any of I got compressors and preamps. I didn't take any of that stuff.
Mhm.
So for a while in quarantine, I was just like, oh man, I can't record. I can't do anything. I don't have my gear.
Right.
And I think at that point, Skelly wasn't mixed, and I wanted Skelly to come out. And then I realized, I slowly pieced together. I was like, well, I have this laptop, and I got an interface, and I have headphones. Like, I don't have speakers, I don't have all this stuff, but like I have a backup online, so I could download Skelly for my backup. And then suddenly, I just realized that with the small tools I had, I could mix.
Mhm.
So I mixed and mastered Skelly and put it out. And then I thought, why can't I record just with what I have?
Mhm.
And so with just the bare, I had no outboard analog gear, no nothing, just a guitar. And I think the mic I had at the time was a SE Electronics V7, which
Okay.
is kind of like an SM58, but SE Electronics makes really awesome stuff for cheap.
Sure.
And I remember
to
when I
know.
recorded it, I listened back and there was this weird, like high frequency distortion kind of, I don't know if it was noise or power or what it was,
Mhm.
but it was audible, and I really liked the take. And I think those were my first takes in Journey. I think I wrote the song, I did the
Really?
takes, and it was just what came out. But there was this weird distortion. So I put EQ on it to cover, and it was only in the high frequency range. And the result was that the song came out like really, really dark.
Right.
And I remember thinking, like, this is it. Like, this is how I feel. This is the song. Like, if it's dark, it's dark.
Right.
Because it was
And,
just a happen chance to get that sound, but it made it, you like that for what it was. That's awesome.
Yeah, and then I've had people tell me like, "Oh, the song was so dark, but the whole feeling and everything makes sense, and it enhances it." And like people think I mix it that way intentionally.
You were just trying to get rid of some noise, and it's like, oh yeah, man, that kind of
Yeah, I
sounds
was just
cool.
fixing a problem. And in terms of the lyrics, like it was it was an interesting feeling being in quarantine
Mhm.
because suddenly you're not talking to anybody, you're not going out,
Mhm.
and at that point there's a lot of fear.
Right.
Like we didn't know about masks, and I mean I knew we needed masks, but I eventually learned about KF94s and they're super cheap and really effective and
Sure.
easy. But at the time, it was everybody wanted N95s and the price shot up and you couldn't get any.
Yeah.
Now, was that still when everyone was like, "Don't go outside" and shit?
Oh my God, yeah,
Yeah.
100%.
Because like, I grew up, well, I had the time where my birthday was right like 2 days after quarantine had started, and
Oh,
then that was also the year that I was supposed to graduate, and we never had a graduation for it because of it. We never had a
yeah.
graduation that year.
You got
Oh yeah, I
you got
mean,
a
so the
live stream the
impact,
graduation.
Yeah, we had a
right?
live. Yeah, we had a
Yeah.
live stream graduation of
It
just like,
sucked.
photos of us being shown up, and then we were gonna actually redo the graduation for next year,
With
and
the
then
next class, I believe.
yeah, it was gonna be with the next class,
Yeah.
and then they decided to cancel it because only 3 of the students showed up because they're like, no, you lost your chance. We could have done something with it. We had actually a plan. There was a student council that was trying to get a plan going
Yeah.
with it of just
Yeah.
having everybody 6 feet apart the
I
whole
was
time.
fortunate enough to graduate 2 years before COVID happened, so
Yeah.
hmm Yeah, so it was. I mean, it really messed up everybody's lives.
Mhm.
And at the time, like God, February 2020, I had assembled a live band for Grand Commander, and it's like, all right, we're gonna do this, and we'll
Wow.
play gigs. And then suddenly, I'm just in my sister's house doing the
Alone.
same thing every
Wow.
day, and just feeling really lonely. And but what was interesting is at that point, I had fans from I Hope You Die in a Fire, and I had a little community and people that supported me, and I felt the love, and feeling the love in that way was something that I felt really grateful for because I was like, I can't go out, I can't talk to people, I can't do anything, but still there there's this community, and there's these feelings that I found that have helped me kind of piece this stuff together. So Journey was just about just thinking about how time goes by, um and it was interesting because it was about breath. um I'm thinking about the lyrics.
Say, yeah, elaborate on that. That's very, I
Is
don't know,
it
I'm curious about
Okay,
that.
so the days of passing years, I walk alone with all my thoughts. That's just like time goes, like how long is this gonna
Right.
last?
Yeah.
Right.
Oh yeah, so softly suffocating as the numbers rise.
Mhm.
And it was an interesting time because I remember that George Floyd was murdered,
Yeah.
and the cop, it's like, put his knee on his neck and like he couldn't breathe.
Yeah,
And
you
at the
couldn't do
same
anything.
time, everybody was telling you, you can't go out, don't breathe the air. The air is poison. So there was just
Mhm.
this feeling of it felt like the whole world was just trying to
Strangle
restrict
itself.
breath.
Yeah.
So it felt very suffocating. Yeah, I imagine better days, something cling to the hope of. Yeah, I was just thinking about the future and finding this community. Like I had found a community not of like-minded people, but just of people who resonated on my wavelength.
Right.
And I thought about that, and it took me out of my physical surroundings. So suddenly I
Mhm.
wasn't just stuck in a spare bedroom in my sister's house. There's this whole world, and everybody's going through all this stuff, and especially when you have tons of time to sit around and think. You can meditate on the feeling of connectedness and how sure we may be in this new dystopian reality, but what about all the love and beauty that comes from that too? So I just found a song where I just wanted to kind of say thank you to everybody that I had found this way to
Mhm.
get through the loneliness, and it was like kind of just detailing my experience and saying to anybody else, like, yeah, sometimes stuff gets hard, but there's a lot of pain, or there's a lot of beauty among the pain. And sometimes something that seems so terrible, there's beauty in that
Mhm.
too.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. That's definitely something that, resonated with me when it came out. I don't think I fully realized it when I listened to it the first time, but I think I listened to it about like a year later, like last summer, and that's when I really started to hit me in that way. I'm just like, oh shit, wow, because like that was after quarantine had already passed a little bit, and everyone was like back to work and everything, and like I'd lost my job from COVID, and then towards the end of that lease, I was in quarantine for like 8 months, and then I moved 3 hours away to a new city. Completely starting
I was
anew,
like,
not really knowing where I was going.
and during quarantine was when we really actually buckled down and started working on the channel so much more.
Right, and that's
We had
that's
so much time on our hands, we might as well have done
right.
it.
Well, that's also when we kind of conceived the idea of like, hey, like what if we did this thing? Because ever since you and I met in high school, we had always kind of like a weird spunky friends because like we always had weird energy. So I met this one person and I had this weird, just flamboyant energy, and they're like, "Have you met Corey?"
And I was already
You were very like Corey. And then as soon as they introduced us, it was like a mirror.
yeah, literally walked up to each other with, "Who's this guy?" And both did finger guns to
Yeah.
each other, just ready.
It was like the whole Spider-Man meme of pointing at
Yep.
each other. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And then
No, it sounds perfect. I mean, yeah, you guys were destined to meet.
and we would, you know, always like go hang out, play games together, and like you have brothers and
Mhm.
you know, family, they'd be like, "You guys are so stupid. You guys could do a YouTube channel."
Yeah.
And then they were like, "Oh yeah, whatever." And then quarantine kind of hit and we're just like,
You know what? We could.
you know, what if we do? We got nothing else to do.
Right. Like,
You
might
know,
as
what
well.
if we try, you know?
I was like, we already just laugh our own stupid jokes all the time. We might as well, like you were saying before, you might as well just record those moments. You might
Right.
as well take those moments.
Someone
for
might
the-
like it.
Exactly. Take the moments for what they are and enjoy them, but also catch them.
Right. Yeah.
And that's what I love about the kind of long form content era. Like, I feel like we hear over and over how everyone's attention spans are getting smaller and smaller. But
Mhm.
I don't know, if you look at the amount of people that will listen to a long podcast, it's multiple hours long.
Yeah, I mean, look at Joe Rogan. It's 3-4 hour podcast. He's the number one guy.
Right.
Yeah, it's just wild. I've been listening to this podcast called Bandsplain. It's on Spotify. And
Sure.
this girl, Yasi, she picks a band every week and then she finds an expert. And they'll talk about that band for like 4 hours sometimes. I think Radiohead was 2 parts that were 3 or 4 hours each. And it's like people will listen, you know?
Oh,
People
yeah.
will definitely listen.
So what is that podcast called again?
Oh, Bandsplain.
Bandsplain.
Mansplain.
Okay.
Yeah, I see it.
I think she focused on a bunch of kind of 90s bands, but
Yes.
I was just looking for Metallica and it popped up because she had an episode on Metallica.
Mhm.
Like I was looking to just listen to Metallica,
Mm.
but I was like, what is this?
Yeah, that's
and then
interesting.
I will listen to anybody talk about the first 4 Metallica albums.
Sure. Yeah, they
So
got
that's how I found it. So you just never know what people are looking for.
right. What does I'm not super cultured with like the old, you know, rock metal music like that. But what's your favorite Metallica song? Because my dad, Metallica is his favorite band.
Off the
even know
top of
that.
my head, I would say Blackened.
Blackened. Okay.
Yeah, the first song off Justice. But
Okay.
I mean, if you ask me 10 minutes from now, I could, you know, I could say Ride the Lightning or something different.
Is there a song something to do with like a battery or like
Yeah, I mean the song
Ba-
Battery.
battery? Okay, I think that's one of my dad's favorite songs. That or like Sad But True, I think.
Out of
Oh
curiosity.
yeah, Sad But True is actually my most hated Metallica song.
Really?
It's, yeah, I refuse to listen to it.
What about it? Was it just like too popularized?
No, it wasn't that. I'm a thrasher. I grew up
Oh,
listening
sure.
to thrash metal.
Sure.
So, and I know a lot of that doesn't come across in Grand Commander stuff. A lot of people are always surprised that, you know, I grew up listening to just insane amounts of metal.
Right.
And to them, I say, listen to Bad Bad Rabbit because it's just a thrash song
Sure.
disguised.
Okay.
But I love Cliff Burton, their first bass player. He was this just wild genius, kind of amazing bass player. And he wasn't actually on Justice, you know, because he had died in the bus crash
Oh shit.
before Justice was recorded. But that was still the tail end of their period
Mhm.
of just pure dominance. And that sound of Metallica is what I like. And
Okay.
when they got more commercial and they wanted to slow down, all respect in the world to them for wanting to change their sound. It just wasn't something that I gravitated toward.
Right.
So out
right.
of curiosity, for Master of Puppets, I've always thought Master of Puppets was like one of the softest albums that they ever did. And I
I totally disagree. I
really
mean,
okay.
Disposable Heroes, Battery, like what is soft about it?
I only listened to it with my father when I was growing up with him, but I always felt like that one was the one that like it made me feel a lot more emotional rather than I want to actually just rock around.
Oh, okay. So you mean soft in that sense?
Yeah.
I think the themes of Master of Puppets are dealing with loss of power. So if you think about the songs, like Battery is about being powerless in war,
Yeah.
and Master of Puppets is being powerless against drugs.
Interesting.
And the thing that should not be is being powerless against monsters.
Yeah.
Let's see what's next.
Welcome Home.
Welcome Home Sanitarium. That's about, you know, losing your own mind and being powerless against insanity and being committed.
Damn, I need to listen to Metallica
Yeah,
again.
I guess me too.
And then Disposable Heroes, once again, that's powerless in war. And then Leper Messiah is, you know, struggling with religious power. and then Orion, that's just an instrumental that's, you know, kind of its own thing, which is just a beautiful composition. And then Damage Inc. is their one. It seems like that song was them asserting themselves.
Sure.
You know, as being just complete badasses, which is fitting at the end of the
Right.
the whole album about struggling with power, and then, you know, fucking Metallica.
Yeah.
So that's how I interpret that album.
Wow, that's really interesting because like I said, I never really, for some reason, you know, maybe it's just because like I'm more of a younger feller, so like I didn't really connect with that stuff as much. I don't. It's weird because even though my dad's favorite band is Metallica, he was never really like he plays guitar and, you know, he likes that stuff, but he was never really one to put music on a lot. And the funny thing with Sad But True is the only reason I really know that one is because it was his ringtone for the longest time. So every time I'd hear just Sad But True, and it's like, oh, he's getting a phone call.
I feel like we're really dating ourselves by constantly going, our dad listens to Metallica.
I mean, my dad's almost 60 now.
Yeah, damn.
Yeah.
I was like another band that I've always wanted to listen to because my brother always listened to growing up, and it just like it has a lot of history that goes on with it. But Iron Maiden, I fucking love listening to Iron Maiden, but I don't know anything about Iron Maiden. Whenever my brother would put it on, I just loved listening to it.
My God, the last gig I played, the first gig I played, I mean, when quarantine ended, was a Metallica / Iron Maiden tribute show.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, so I had to learn a bunch of Iron Maiden songs, and I love Iron Maiden.
Damn.
Do you have? Are you a Iron Maiden fan on the level of albums, or you just kind of dig them?
I just kind of dig them. It was always something that my brother would play on the way to Taekwondo. So I would just be like just sitting in the passenger seat, just rocking my head
It's
down.
like, I don't know what this is, but it's great.
Yeah. No, it's funny because a lot of metal I would listen to, my sister didn't like. I mean, she liked some stuff, but she always particularly loved Iron Maiden, and she called it happy metal.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I can see that.
I find that ironic just because I have 3 brothers. So my oldest brother was one to listen to Iron Maiden, but my second oldest brother, he absolutely despised Iron Maiden for zero reason. He would just lose his mind anytime that Iron Maiden was played, and no reason. He just hated it because of some type of association, I guess.
Yeah, haters gonna hate, man.
That's sibling stuff, man.
Yeah.
Right.
I think one of like the first, because I've never really been like a huge like metalhead, but I feel like the first metal type sounding music that I started to really like connect with was Avenged Sevenfold.
Yeah, you know, I don't think I've ever even listened to Avenged Sevenfold.
Really?
Yeah.
I had a friend back in high school that unfortunately passed away when he was still in school. But he like I knew like of them. I knew like 1 or 2 songs, and he's like, "Oh man, you would love them." I'm like, "I don't know. I don't really like listen to a lot of heavier stuff." He's like, "Dude," and he gave me like a list of like 20 different tracks. Like, listen to these ones aren't as hard, and I did, and they're just amazing. I if you haven't listened to Avenged Sevenfold, some of them are definitely softer than say Metallica, but I think M Shadows just has like a phenomenal voice, just blows me out of the water.
Okay.
Yeah, for me.
Yeah, no, send me some Rex. Like, let me know.
Say for me,
So,
System of a
guys-
Down was the one I always liked, but sorry.
Oh,
keep going.
really?
Yeah.
Oh no,
System
I have to cut this off, man. It's
Sure.
it's Mother's Day, and I
Oh,
just got to
of
get
course.
out and go, you know, hang
Of
out
course,
with my mom.
Of course.
Yeah, no, man, that makes
I
sense.
wish we could keep talking, but I really just got to cut it off.
Yeah,
No,
no
you're all
worries,
good.
man. We weren't sure really how long we had, and we just kind of go. I mean, I'd love to get together again sometime if you're down for it. If this went well.
for sure. Yeah, this is. I mean, it's fun just talking and kind of just.
Mhm.
I love the chance to talk about stuff that, like on social media, it always feels like you have to post with such a purpose, and it's
Right,
nice
yeah.
to just have a conversation.
Conversation, yeah. For
So yeah,
sure.
next
You know,
time we
let
don't
stuff
necessarily have to
come
talk
out.
about so much business stuff. We don't have to talk about
Yeah.
actual.
I feel like we're kind of all over the place.
True.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I don't really have any rules for that kind of stuff. So
And
if there's stuff you guys liked, if there's stuff you want to cut, like whatever, man. If you
Sure.
guys want to edit it all and chop it up and take out all the business talk or just whatever.
Sure. No, I mean, unless
Honestly, I think it was pretty good. Just
yeah,
leaving it
I mean,
raw.
honestly, I think unless there was like anything specific that you didn't like, you know, like if you want me to cut out or something, that's pretty much about it. Because that's how I tried to pitch it to you. Is like, hey, we just kind of start talking and we'll see wherever it goes. Journey to wherever
Yeah.
we may go, as you will.
Right.
But hey, man, I really appreciate you giving us your time.
yeah, no,
It was
I appreciate it.
Really fun to talk to you and get to know you a little bit. And I hope we can get together sometime again soon.
Oh, absolutely. And make sure you send me a link once the podcast is posted.
Hell yeah, we'll do, man.
Bet,
We'll do.
bet.
Cool. All right. Well, you guys take care.
Hey, man, you as well.
Yep. Have
Happy
one
Mother's Day. Have a great night.
Happy Mother's Day.
Yeah. See you later.
Hey, this is a little bit after the podcast. Sorry we didn't really have a huge intro today, but thank you everyone for coming to listen to this very special episode of In the Truck with AC, episode 20.
Their
It was-
absolutely first interview with an actual person that we had to go and communicate with.
Yeah,
it
it was-
wasn't just happen chance.
It was honestly, it was really like nerve-wracking and really exciting, but like also it was a whole lot of fun. And it really, I know we were kind of talking about like depressing stuff in the past couple podcasts, but honestly, like
that motivated the hell out of me.
yeah, it feels really good to talk, you know, to someone like-minded, or just it's just really fun to get out there. And I hope we get more chances to do this type of thing in the future. So with that being said, if you guys like this, you know, please go to the YouTube version and leave a comment and let us know what you think, or message us on various social media. We're on Twitter. We have a Discord. All the links are in descriptions. I'm sure you can figure out where they are. But I just have to thank everyone from the bottom of our hearts for supporting this, you know, even if it's just 3 people.
It's a weird dream that we really want to make succeed, but even on the way there, we're just happy to have you guys.
Yeah.
We're just happy to have you be there to listen to us. And even if we're really weird and silly and stupid, that's the charm.
Right.
That's what we're trying to go for.
And even if we get in our heads and get critical of ourselves sometimes, it's a nice humble reminder that
everybody goes through that.
persevere, you know, like just do your own thing. If people like it, people like it. You know, there's always going to be haters and people that don't. So
thank you all for listening.
Yeah, no crazy bit at the end here. So I hope you all have a wonderful day.
Happy Mother's Day.
Happy Mother's Day. This is recorded on Mother's Day, and it'll probably be out next week.
Yep.
Well, 2 weeks from now, I think.
Okay.
It'll be on the Patreon next week. But you guys have a wonderful night.
Bye.
Bye.